So it's been 2 months now, and it's finally time to come back and talk about the HP ProBook 435G7. I've enjoyed using this laptop over that time, and I know a number of my family members have as well, as this laptop's been kind of like a shared laptop between, my family in general. And basically, this laptop costed about $780, $790 when we bought it, and it's a 2-in-1 13-inch laptop. It's got a Ryzen 7 4700U, and overall, some pretty massive bezels. As you can see, it's quite reflective, and bezels are quite substantial. You can see them right here pretty clearly. The screen is not trying to be the next XPS 13 by any means. And it's a business laptop, so naturally you'd expect that they would make some sort of visual sacrifice for some sort of, business purpose. And for this laptop, there is sacrifice for the visual, for the user experience, and the performance, and just overall quality of the laptop. And that's what I love about this laptop. This laptop is the quality of the experience over everything else. How does it feel to do heavy tasks on this laptop? How does it feel to do lighter tasks on this laptop? How does it feel to just use this laptop for typing? It all feels better than you think it would. And it felt better than I thought it would, even just given some slight downsides. So yeah, we're going to be talking about this laptop today. I'm going to give my full, overview and review of how everything on the laptop works, how it feels, and let's just get started now. We have, 4700U, 16 gigs of RAM is installed in this laptop right now. I've upgraded it to a bigger storage drive. I think it's a 1 terabyte drive now. Let's talk about some structural stuff here first before we dive into anything, because I know you guys care about that. I care about it. So basically there's a hinge right there and right there. Let me open this up so it'll sign me in. Come on. Hello. There we go. So hinges here and here. We've got the 2-in-1 hinge. Works pretty good, pretty sturdy. I mean, not much for wobble there. Even if I kind of walk this around, it doesn't really move terribly much. Very sturdy hinges. Only concern, I have this concern a lot in some laptops is, the hinges, I'm not the most confident in them. If you look really closely at the glass over here, let me get this at the right angle so you can see it. Hopefully it'll be visible. You can see a very slight, bend. Hold on, let me try to get this there. You can see how it kind of curves there, like that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what causes that. Because if you look, keyboard deck perfectly flat. So the glass is just kind of curved there. And I think it has something to do with the hinge. Not sure what the deal is. I'm a little concerned about it, but it's not an obvious design flaw by any means. I think I haven't dug too deep into the hinge design of this laptop, and I don't think the service manual really tells me, so I don't know for sure. But in general, the lid feels very sturdy. I go like this. Just do this. I mean, I'm pushing. I'm pushing quite hard. Look how minimally this actually flexes. It's difficult to do, and that's mainly because if you look at this lid here, it doesn't just come to a square edge. It's actually kind of beveled. So you've got this kind of triangular thing here that doesn't really want to bend, and that does a lot for lid rigidity, and I really appreciate HP doing that. Of course, that doesn't prevent things like when the laptop's closed, if you push on the lid, it will kind of push down a little bit, but every laptop does that, and that's to be kind of expected. You can almost get this open with one hand, but you can't. So, there's that. But that's just kind of the structural stuff. In general, I'm very happy with how it is structurally. I think the hinges are pretty sturdy. HP is not really known for failing hinges necessarily on their laptops. Some of them more than others, but on the Envies and their business lines, not really. So nothing to be too concerned about there. We have this touchpad. This touchpad feels quite nice. It's not glass. It's more of a plasticky finish, but nevertheless, it feels quite nice to use. It's more than big enough. I mean, look how big this is. This is quite a substantial one. Here's an SD card. I mean, it's more than enough space. It's kind of similar to, I think, old XPS 15s before they changed and made the trackpad bigger. It's similar kind of size to that. It's not perfectly aligned with the keyboard, but it's not big enough to get in the way, which is nice. Keyboard is quite responsive, nice. It's very tactile. You know when you're hitting a keystroke because it's a very firm response when you do that. Fingerprint reader, I think it works pretty good. I haven't tested it very much because I've just been using the IR sign-in, as you've probably seen me do with the flashing red up there and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically, input devices. There's also the pen, which the pen is quite nice. And while we're talking about the pen, I should talk about the 2-in-1 features. And this laptop does something that's quite smart that not a lot of laptops will do. If you look here, you can see that there's these like rubber feet here and here. Let me zoom in so they're more obvious. See that rubber foot just kind of blends in. Also one right here. They're out of the way, but when you put this laptop down on a desk, there's 2 more over there you can see. It will help it from moving. And I really appreciate this design choice, because a lot of 2-in-1s, when you actually use them on a desk in that like presentation mode or like set it down as a tablet, for one, you risk scratching the aluminum with whatever's on the desk or the plastic or whatever. But you also just have a really slidey machine that is even more prone to scratching now that it's sliding around. These feet do a decent job of holding it in place, and I'll just show that. Here we have the laptop in this mode, and it takes I can't just push it. Like, I'm tapping it and it's not really moving. I have to kind of firmly put force right there to get it to start to move. So overall, that's pretty decent. We've got the pen here. This was a upgrade. We had to buy this separately. I think it was like a $30 pen. The stylus, it's nice. It's metal. It's got a little piece here that sticks out. So if you set it down on the desk, it won't roll away. Always appreciate it. Comes with that. They just stick on the laptop somewhere. So where it's holstered is pretty much your choice. We'll just open up this whiteboard app here. And I'll just briefly show you guys how good the tracking is on the pen. Now you'll notice that you can see the panel kind of distort when you draw like this. I'm not a fan of that. I think that the glass might just be a bit too thin or something, and it causes the, panel underneath to get warped a little bit when you draw on it. I haven't really figured out exactly what the cause is, but I think that's mainly what it is. I'm not sure why they chose to do that. But yeah. As you can see, tracks pretty well. I mean, I haven't had any issues with any dead zones or anything, so not any complaints about the stylus. It's very responsive, updates quickly, not any problem. So if you're looking at getting this for some sort of art use, I would say you're going to be more than happy doing that, especially given the really serious processor in here. Now the speakers on this thing, there's a speaker bar along the top. You can see that right here, this nice grill. I mean, they're pretty loud. Let me get my decibel meter out here so you can kind of see. I'll set it to max so that you'll be able to see it here. As you're able to tell, I mean, this is the max decibels I registered on the meter. It gets quite loud. The speakers are quite loud. They sound pretty good for just, laptop speakers. I didn't really have any complaint about them. I thought they were high enough quality for at least my own standards. And, they are a bit high-end. They don't have much bass, but, I can't really complain about that given that this is for business use. It's not really intended to be, general consumer use notebook. We've covered sound. I should talk about the screen briefly. This screen is a 250 nit IPS 1080p display. Now, this isn't the best panel in the world. It's far from it. It's, just kind of acceptable. There is some weird noise if you get really close in. You can see that the blacks aren't quite as if I bring this really close, you might be able to see it. There might be a little bit of you can see the gray is not all the same gray. Black's not all the same black. It's just there's kind of a fuzziness to it. I don't know how in focus that'll be if I get closer, but basically there's just some sort of weird thing where the screen's matte and then they applied glue to it and it just looks weird. Or maybe it's the pixels. I'm not 100% certain what the deal is, but at the end of the day, I've never noticed while using it, notably because it's a 13-inch screen and all the artifacts are kind of tiny and this laptop's not going to be super close to you. I mean, it can get a little annoying in darkly lit rooms, but it's never been a glaring issue. I never really noticed until I got close. So I wouldn't call it bad. I wouldn't call it unacceptable. I would just say that, It's fine. For the price point and what the rest of the laptop has to offer, I think it's kind of passable. And, you know, we'll talk about that in a second here. So I'm going to open this laptop up, so we'll turn it off. The nice thing about tearing this laptop down is that this basically, HP opted to put captive screws in. And if you don't know what captive screws are, basically the screw does not leave its little pocket. So what I can do is I can just grab my good old iFixit kit, or just this screwdriver bit set in general, and I will grab my, I think I use my number 1 generally for this, my number 1 Phillips. And all I have to do is just pop this in and unscrew all of the screws. I have to hold it still because I'm on cardboard right now. So now you've got that unscrewed, all you have to do is just go up here, pop your pry tool in, and just kind of pop the panel up. There you go. And then you can just look and pry gently. Grab here and pop this corner up. Set the laptop back down. There you go. Pops open. No problem whatsoever. Now keep in mind that there's some hooks here. So generally when you pop like the rest of it open, you kind of want to pull like away. But you know, that was fine that time. It's not going to be fine forever if you open it like that. So just keep that in mind. As you can see here, we have this ventilation grill. And something I should note is that, yes, this does not overlap. Like, wait, actually, does it? Almost. Yeah, so this almost overlaps perfectly with the fan. I mean, the fan does get kind of cut off. Like, this is kind of where the grill is right here, and the fan's right here. So no complaint there. No complaint with regards to ventilation. You know, it's all passed through. You can see through it. Wow. And, you know, that's over the fan. So you're good. But yeah, so here's a general breakdown on the internals. We have right here, this is the little spot with the SSD, and you can just pop this up. Usually, you'd want to use like a pair of tweezers or something with a bit of grip to pop this open. Right here, you can kind of just, there you go. So yeah, if you just kind of hook your pry tool where the screw hole is on this, you can just pop it up. But as you can see, this is my WD Blue SATA drive. So this does support SATA M.2 SSDs in case you're curious. Definitely can just get one of those. And that's where you'd put it. I'll just put this tray back on. You can see it kind of just opens at the side here to go to the memory tray here. So I'll just kind of see if I can pop the tray up. I can't. I'll just push this back down. This kind of helps with heat, I guess, because there's no metal on the back, so it can't really dissipate there, but I wouldn't call it a heat sink or anything like that. So now we have this metal thing here. Let's try to get this up. There we go. Easy peasy. And there you go. There's my 2 memory sticks. We've got 2 8GB sticks of 3200 DDR4 SODIMM. The little ribs that hold this little thing on, you can see like right here and here and here. You can just kind of adjust those, push them, and they'll go back on. So not a huge deal. But one of the things we need to talk about is the heatsink. And I know a number of you guys probably saw it and you're like, well, Husky, you're always pretty adamant about dual pipe and how dual pipe's really nice for thermals. Well, you don't always need a dual pipe cooler. That's just a nice to have. It's not 100% necessary. And, you know, I really like this laptop. I think it performs pretty great, and it doesn't have a dual pipe cooler. This just has a one standard, you know, single pipe cooler that just goes to this fan right here. Pipe's at least pretty decently sized. It's decently thick as well. It's not like a tiny paper thin pipe. It's relatively substantial, and it gets the job done well enough where I don't really have any complaints about it. And I guess at the end of the day, that's basically my criteria is, does it meet like TDP? It meets TDP. This thing can cool it at 15 watts. And surprisingly, if I push this thing up to something more like 25, it handles that too, except, you know, just hotter. But yeah, let's get this thing put back together. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts about this ProBook. Performance is really great. I've been able to play stuff like Minecraft or just lower end games. Like The Sims 4 runs wonderfully on here. Just, lower end titles, even stuff like GTA 5, if you lower the settings down to the bare minimums, you can get it to run pretty great on this type of machine. There are versions of it available, like the 4750U and 4650U versions, which have SMT enabled. I advise against getting the 1000 nit SureView panel for sure. If you have the same interests as me, as you're just looking for a laptop that stays out of the way while you're using it, it just feels like you're, working when you're using it. It's not like you're fighting against the laptop to make it work. Then this is definitely the laptop you want to pick up. This laptop just kind of fits my needs in terms of just, sit down on the couch and type out some document or browse the internet or just check YouTube comments or whatever I need to do. Overall can't complain about it. So I'll have links to this in the description. Probably not Amazon, but there might be some on Amazon that I'm not aware of, and I'll link that there just in case. Probably not the same price, probably not the same spec, but, similar type deal. Just read the description of the listings and whatnot before you buy. So you enjoyed this video, be sure to get subscribed. I might do more videos on this thing in the future. I'm not sure yet. It depends on how well this video does, of course. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments because I'll read those. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. There's always Patreon. Thanks to all my patrons and my YouTube channel members for supporting the channel. I'll have all those people up right on the screen right now. As always, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you guys later.